All right, here we go, and welcome. We are going to talk about, we'll play a little game with our brain, actually. And so the first thing we're going to do is let's do some breathing together before we get started into our brain game. So I want you to go ahead and sit up nice and straight where you are. Try to put both your feet on the floor if you can. If your phone makes noise, go ahead and set it on mute. Let's just remove those distractions. I'll be the first one to do it because you just heard my phone go off. Mute it and set away. Notice what it feels like to set the phone away. Notice if that conjures up any interesting feelings for you to be away from the phone. So we're sitting up straight. First, I want you to notice where your feet are making contact with the floor, what it feels like to have the support of the floor beneath you. Beyond that, notice the support of the chair that you're in, or the couch, or the bed, whatever it is that's supporting your body. What we're doing right now is we're grounding. Grounding basically means making contact with the ground and recognizing that the ground is going to support you no matter what. There's a certain safety in knowing that the ground is not going to suddenly just fall away and disappear. Gravity is going to keep you grounded. So just notice the contacts that you're making with the floor, feeling safe and supported there. And let's go ahead and do some breathing together. So you've got your mindful posture on. Go ahead and drop those shoulders away from your ears. Nice elongated spine. Strong back, but a soft front. And go ahead and breathe in really deep in through the nose, sending air all the way down to the bottom of the lungs. And now exhale. Letting all the air out, keep going. If you ran out of air, don't worry, you have another chance. Excuse me. I talk about this all the time, but as you start to breathe in, you take in more oxygen and it makes you yawn. So if you're noticing yourself yawning, it's because you're breathing deeper than you're used to. Let's go ahead and do it again. Breathe in through the nose. Try to see if you can exhale through the nose as well. Here we go. Breathing in. Retain the air at the top and then release. Beautiful job. Let's try that one more time. Breathing in. Retaining the air at the top. And now let all of it out. Nice and slow. And then find a nice neutral breath. Noticing again where you're making contact with the floor. Noticing if you're moving any part of your body. Maybe inviting some stillness. If you're fidgeting or bouncing a leg, just for the next couple of minutes, see if we can be still. Awesome. You don't have to close your eyes. I tend to close my eyes instinctually. What we're going to talk about today, and you can just kind of breathe naturally now, sitting back if you need to. We're going to talk a little bit about this brain game where I'm going to discuss, I'm going to give it away. So we'll start this way. I want you to think about something, a memory, a person, an object, a place. I want you to think about something that makes you feel happy, peaceful, calm. I'll go ahead and give you that. It can be a certain person that you love, makes you feel good. Or it can be a place where every time you're there, you feel good. Or it can be something that you do. Like anytime I go for a run, I feel really good. Or a memory, like the one time that me and my family, we did this, or the one time I went with my friend to do this, that was the best day of my life. I want you to think about something that makes you feel really good, really happy. So sit with that for a second. If you want to close your eyes, you totally can. You don't have to. So sit with that. Find that thing. I'm going to guide you through it, but keep thinking about it. And I want you to think about where in your body you feel that joy, that peace, or that calm. If you're feeling happy, where do you feel that happiness? I want you also to think and use your senses. What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What do you hear? What do you see? Is there something you can touch? Is there perhaps a taste associated? And just sit with that thing for just a moment more, that thing that makes us feel good. And then come back here. That thing is your resource. We're going to call it a resource because it's something that you're going to carry around with you that you can refer to whenever you're feeling upset or whenever you want. I'll share my resource. If you want, you can share yours in the chat. You don't have to. I know for some people, those are personal. My resource is a memory, and it's a memory of me being on my honeymoon at a beach. This was 2012. And I can picture what it looks like vividly in my mind. I can hear the waves. I can feel the sun. It's a sensory thing. And every time I think about I'm in a hammock. We sat in hammocks. I can feel myself being rocked by the hammock. I can hear music playing because there was music coming from a restaurant back behind us. I can sense this place. So were you able to find a resource, a thing that makes you happy? If it's a person, you can think about what that person looks like when they're happy, maybe the clothes they're wearing, what it feels like to give them a hug. If it's an animal, what they feel like, their fur or their feathers, what sounds they might make. If it's, I don't know, a place, then what it looks like, the sounds you might hear in this place, if there's associated smells with it. You can get really sensory with these resources. And we're calling it a resource because when people say, oh, I'm running out of resources, or that country doesn't have its own resource. Resource is basically like the stockpile of stuff that you need to function, right? If a country doesn't have any resources, then they've got to go find them. You cannot function without resources. We have to have these resources within ourselves. This is mindfulness here, is that you're going to carry around that resource with you no matter what. Another resource for me, my children. And so just thinking about them laughing, them playing, something funny that they said, like that is a resource as well. So can you have more than one resource to refer to? Yes. There's sunlight on me. I'm going to move myself. So yeah, you can have more than one resource that you refer to. Okay. This is a side story. There is this one story that happened just of something that my poor mother-in-law did something one time that was just a goof. And it was like, you ever done something and it's a really fancy place, but you accidentally do something that's not very fancy? She did this and she was so embarrassed. And it is one of my things I always go back to because I think it is just hilarious. And so I use that whenever I'm feeling sad. I think about that funny thing that she did. Bless her heart. Makes me laugh. So here goes the next thing we're going to do. So you've got your resource, right? That's the thing that makes you feel good. Here's where the brain game comes in. I want you now to think about something mildly annoying. Now stop. Don't go all the way to the person you hate, the worst day of your life. The most offensive thing that ever happened to you. No, 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 no. That's way too far. You're gonna think of something mildly annoying. And if you're like, well, I can't think of something, let me give you some examples. Getting your socks wet. Okay. That's really annoying. And I can just feel the sock on my foot when I think about that. Like I step in water and I miss my sock wet. I hate the feeling of wet socks, right? If you have something annoying you want to share, it would be helpful, maybe for others. So put it in the chat. Maybe, oh gosh, something mildly annoying. Oh man. What's a pet peeve of yours? Again, socks being wet. I really don't like that. I'm glad I found that one. For me, it could be like the dog pooped on the floor. Okay. Not the end of the world, not the worst day of my life, but annoying because now I got to pick it up. Or maybe you get a bad grade on something that doesn't matter so much. Like it's not a test, but it's like, okay, well, I forgot to do my homework. Like, so if you have something that's mildly irritating, drop it in the chat because we're going to play a little game. This is hard. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that you may not be able to do this and it's okay. It's something you can practice. All right. Go ahead and pick your irritating thing, the thing that makes you feel annoyed. Pick it in your mind. I'm going to stick with my socks being wet because I just hate that feeling. All right, you got it in your head. Think about that thing and find the sensory things about it. So when that thing happens, how do you feel? Emotionally, agitated, annoyed, frustrated. Is there anything that it actually feels like, smells like, looks like? Maybe even tastes like you accidentally eat, like I hate olives. If I accidentally eat an olive, like if an olive found its way onto my slice of pizza, I'm annoyed because I don't like the taste of olives. I hate the taste of olives. So that's annoying. So maybe that's one of your things is you accidentally eat a bite of food that you don't enjoy. And it's like, oh, yuck. So what does that taste like? That food that you don't like, So sit with that feeling, really sit there and experience that thing that's really just, ugh. And now swap back over to your resource. Change the channel in your brain. Now you're with that thing that makes you feel good. Notice the sights. Notice the feel of that thing that makes you feel good, or that person, giving them a hug, or that memory, what it felt like to be there. Notice the smells. If there's any taste associated, maybe you got to bake cookies with your friend one time, so you're eating cookies with them. And now change the channel, you're back at the thing that makes you annoyed. Back at that feeling, back at that sensation that's not pleasant, back at that, maybe the smells weird, feels uncomfortable. Let's do it one more time. Go back to the thing that makes you feel good. Maybe pick a different resource that you like. Maybe a different thing that makes you feel good. Sitting with those people, being with that memory, being in that place, doing that thing that makes you feel good. What does it feel like in your body when you're with that thing, when you're experiencing it? Sit with the good feelings that brings you. Now go back to the thing that's annoying. Wet socks, yucky food, somebody's, rude. You're in a class you don't like. What does it feel like? And now real quick, go back to your resource, the thing that feels good. It's like brain whiplash, y'all. Just stay with me. That thing that feels good, that thing that makes you feel nice, cozy, warm, loving. Just really sit with that thing that makes you feel good. We're going to end here so you can really sit with the thing that makes you feel good. Hear it. Feel it. Touch it. What sights, what smells are associated? And now come back into this space where it's just you and me. That was hard, right? It was hard for me. But did you notice something? When I first thought of, I'll give you my example, wet socks, it was repulsive. It was like, oh, I hate wet socks. But as I kept going back and forth between the thing that made me feel good and the thing that was not pleasant, the not pleasant thing became a little less pleasant a little like less bad every time. Like I wasn't so grossed out by wet socks. I still didn't like it, but it wasn't so bad as the first time I thought of it, right? Because we're playing this game with our brain, and what we're doing is it's called titration, where you go from one thing that's like good or neutral back to the thing that doesn't feel good. And when we do that, it starts to make the thing that's not pleasant a little more tolerable, a little more okay. I'm never going to like an olive. Okay. Never. That's just who I am. That's how I'm made. It's my DNA. But I can ease up off those negative feelings by using my resources. So let me also give you another example. And this is for real. And again, I don't practice what I don't preach. Whenever I feel really stressed, really anxious, really worked up, I feel it in my chest. Where do you feel it? Think about that. Where do you feel those gross feelings? I feel it in my chest, like somebody squeezing my chest. I hate that feeling. That is where my anxiousness, my stress lives, is in my chest. I know some people live in their jaw, they get shot tight in the fist. For me, it's in my chest. So what I do whenever I feel really overwhelmed is I take my attention. So this is my stress, and I move it to a resource in my body. Okay. So instead of thinking about something pleasant that makes me happy, you can do that. But instead, I think about my big toe. And so instead of thinking about the thing that makes me anxious, I bring my attention to my big toe. And I start thinking about my big toe. My big toe has red nail polish on it. My big toe is touching the ground. My big toe is cold. I can wiggle my big toe. And I stay with my brain thinking about my big toe for as long as I need to. And then I go, okay, let me go back up to my chest area where my stress is and see how I'm doing. Ooh, I'm still really stressed. My heart's still racing. My brain is still going 100 miles an hour because I do not feel good. Let me bring my attention back down to my big toe. And so I do. Now, I know for some people, feet might not be your thing. So think about your pinky then, or think about, I don't know, your elbow, something. Pick an area that's like a neutral place, that's far away from the thing that's making you feel stressed. So where I feel my stress is in my chest. Again, for you, that might be in your jaw, that might be in your fists. Pick a part of your body that's super far away from that like trouble area where you're feeling those negative sensations, and just kind of ping pong your brain back between them. You're doing the same thing. You're going from a neutral or a good place. So my big toe is not like a pleasant thing, but it's neutral. My big toe is whatever. Sometimes I like to pretend it's in the sand because I want to be at the beach. So I'm like, okay, I feel really stressed up here. My heart's pounding. I feel really anxious. So I'm going to take my attention and I'm going to put it on my big toe. And I'm just going to sit and think about my big toe right now. Silly as it might be, it works, because then I can go back up and I start to feel a little more calm. And if I'm not ready to deal with that, I bring my attention back down to my big toe. I have heard a story about a man who was so good at this that he went to the dentist and they did a root canal with no pain reliever because he took his attention and put it on his big toe the whole time. He was a yoga master, okay? Not everybody can do this. Could I do this? No. Also, fun fact, I have dental phobia. There's no way. Give me the drugs. I cannot with the dentist. But this man was able to, because he had practiced this so much, he was able to just move his attention away from his mouth and put it into his big toe. And he just thought about his big toe the whole time. They were amazed. The doctors were shocked. They're like, how did you do this? He's like, I practice this and I ping pong my brain. And if I'm not ready to deal with my mouth pain, I just put my attention back on my big toe. That's like extreme level. If you can achieve that, good. I cannot. The easier level is to notice where you feel negative feelings in your body and then move your attention to a different part of the body that feels neutral. Or if you're feeling something negative inside, think about your resource, the thing that makes you feel good, the person, the memory. Think about that, and that will help you. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop here.